Going from a Logitech G29 to a Fanatec CSL Elite is a huge jump in many ways. I made the upgrade myself a few months ago, so in this video I want to share my thoughts and experiences to answer some of the biggest questions, such as will it make you faster and is it worth all that extra money? So as you would expect, the biggest upgrade is within the force feedback. It's hard to describe, but I'll do my best. The Logitech G29 and most other budget wheels use a gear-driven system, and if you've used a G29 you'll know how notchy it can feel at times because of this. The Fanatec on the other hand uses a belt-driven force feedback system, and the first thing you'll notice is how damn smooth it is. Now don't get me wrong, the G29 has great force feedback for the price, but it just can't even be compared to the buttery smoothness you'll get from a CSL Elite. The Fanatec can also provide much stronger force feedback, as the motor inside is capable of 3 times the torque of the Logitech, 2 Nm on the G29 compared to 6 on the Fanatec. These two things combined make for a wheel that's powerful, fast and accurate to a degree that I just couldn't really imagine when I had the Logitech. But how does this impact the experience? Well, in practice, this means that you can just feel so much more from the track and what impact this is having on your car. The fidelity is truly amazing. It's almost as if I've developed another sense when I race, as I just feel that much more aware now. Sure, with the Logitech you can feel when you lose grip or hit a curb too hard, but when this happens with the Fanatec you'll straight away know which wheel lost grip and exactly where the car's unsettled having hit that curb. You'll also get all of this information much faster due to the belt-driven system, so it's much easier to make quick but accurate corrections. This also has a huge impact on immersion, because even though I've never driven a GT3 race car, I just know that this is far more realistic, which really adds to the fun factor of the experience too. So I've tried my best to convey how good the force feedback is, but will it make you faster? Well, if you're expecting to suddenly find a second on top of your best lap time, then sorry to crush your dreams, but that's not going to happen. You will however find that your consistency can improve. Due to the far more detailed force feedback, I found it easier to drive on the edge, so while you may not see much if any improvement on a hot lap, over a race distance it really can be a pretty decent advantage. One other thing I noticed was it being faster to get up to speed on new tracks, which I've put down to the fact that it's easier to find and drive on the limit due to the better force feedback. Now in terms of the physical build of the Fanatec, it's absolutely the expected leap over the G29. The wheelbase itself does have a fully plastic enclosure, however it still looks and feels very premium. It's also quite a bit heavier, as the CSL wheelbase is exactly twice as heavy as the G29, coming in at a pretty chunky 5.5 kilograms, and don't forget that on the Fanatec that doesn't even include a rim. The wheelbase also has 9 shifter lights on it, which do a very similar job to the ones on the G29, but they're about 20,000 times brighter. Now I have the F1 Esports rim, which I'll talk about now, although a lot of what I'm going to say is relevant for the other rims that you might be buying with this wheel, so stick around. First of all, the quality is just on another level. The materials and the heft of the rim really show its quality, although the functionality is just a step above the Logitech too. The wheel has an LED screen which can be used to display your speed or gear, and it can also be used to make on-the-fly adjustments to your force feedback settings, which is incredibly useful. Better still, it can also save multiple profiles, which is great if you play multiple games, as settings for one game often don't work very well on the other. And by the way, the tuning feature is included with both the WRC and P1 rims, which are commonly used with this wheelbase. The F1 rim also has a vibration motor in each grip of the wheel, which just adds that extra bit of immersion on the top of the already insane force feedback. The shifters are also way better on my Fanatec rim than the Logitech. The G29 gets the job done, but the Fanatec wheel just does it a lot better. There's no mushy feel to them, they have a super satisfying click and great adjustability. The other thing about rims which I just wanted to mention is that this wheelbase is compatible with any Fanatec rim, which is great if you want to upgrade later down the line. There are tons of different types of upgrades you can do too, such as shifter upgrades and even changing the button caps, and the rather modular design of the ecosystem also means you can use different Fanatec pedals and loads of other Fanatec peripherals, and this could allow you to add things like manual shifters and handbrakes to your setup. These would all plug in the back of the wheelbase, which acts as a nice little hub, and the other great thing about the Fanatec ecosystem is that remember the CSL is their budget line of products, So big upgrades, like even big upgrades, are very possible. In fact, if you got really into sim racing and wanted a direct drive wheelbase, you could use the same rim and pedals with that as you use on your CSL. Another topic which I thought was worth talking about is noise. Due once again to the G29's gear-driven system, it's very clunky in terms of sound, and if you have one or you've used one before, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now, with 3 times the torque, you may expect the CSL to be pretty noisy itself, although surprisingly, it really isn't. There is of course no clunky sound, and while you can definitely hear it when it loads up the force feedback, the main noise is its fan. The fan is usually on when in use, and it can crank up quite a bit during longer play sessions. However, even with the fan on max, while it is a more constant noise, it's still less than the G29, which is impressive and very nice. Now, while this video is mainly about the wheelbase, the CSL pedals are often bundled with the base, so I just wanted to touch on them quickly. On their own, they're about £100 or dollars with shipping, and I think that's pretty good value. Remember, this is Fanatec we're talking about. Compared to the Logitech pedals, they're once again a step above in terms of build quality and performance. The build is completely metal and very solid. The 2 pedals are completely adjustable left and right and come with rubber pads which you can choose to use if you want a more grippy surface or ditch them for a smoother feel. In terms of performance, I do prefer them to the Logitechs as there's a bit more pressure needed on the brakes, however they're using very similar technology, so you're not going to gain much lap time. What really can gain you lap time though is the load cell upgrade kit. Once again, the Fanatec ecosystem shines as for around £140 or dollars you can buy a load cell brake pedal to just screw into the pedal plate. Now if you don't know, load cell pedals measure the pressure applied to the pedal rather than the distance it travels. Our brains are very good at remembering pressure, so load cells are well known to improve your consistency and pace far more than a better wheel ever could. Now before we get to my final conclusion, I just wanted to touch on reliability. I used my Logitech G29 for 2 years and only had one minor problem with it, which was the red dial here not registering properly. With my Fanatec however, the story is rather different as I've had 3 issues with it since I got it around 4 months ago. First there was something loose and rattling in the wheelbase, then the wheel made a clicking noise when it turned, and then my replacement unit had a broken power port. Basically, it's been a bit of a nightmare so far, and while from what I've heard the Fanatec is more prone to issues than the G29, Fanatec's customer service is at least very good and reasonably fast. Also, I do believe I've been incredibly unlucky as the majority of people are not going to have nearly such a bad experience. It is something to keep in mind though, and I thought it was only honest of me to bring it up. One other thing to note is that Fanatec products can at least only be bought from Fanatec, so if you have an issue, there's never going to be a middleman. The only problem with this is shipping, as they stock very few locations. All orders from Europe have to come from Germany, and if you're in the North America region, then everything comes from California. So is it worth it? Well, in the UK, a Fanatec CSL setup will cost you somewhere in the region of £500 more than a G29, depending on your configuration, and for that you could buy an actual car which comes with an engine and many wheels, even if the wheel in that car is nowhere near as nice as the wheel on the Fanatec. Anyway, seriously speaking, for most, I believe the upgrade is absolutely going to be worth it. If you're getting more into sim or even simcade racing, then the CSL is a huge upgrade over the Logitech in so many ways that it definitely justifies the price. You'll get stronger and more accurate force feedback, which leads to better consistency, loads more immersion, and lots of fun. You also have loads of options to upgrade and customize your setup in the future with the amazing Fanatec ecosystem, so if you want to become a full-on sim racing junkie, the transition will be seamless. And just one more thing to add, because while I did mention fun and immersion earlier in the video, I just want to stress how fun using this wheel really is. When I bought it, I was of course expecting the general upgrade in all areas, however the fun factor was really quite surprising. It's once again a nightmare to convey through a video, however the experience is just honestly so enjoyable, and when I just had my G29 I wasn't really aware that this was possible. Anyway, that's all for this video. I really hope you found it useful. Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section, and also if you have any questions then I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But that's everything, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.